Hello and welcome to Recyclist. It's March 30th, 2026. I'm your host, Eric Provost, and this is your weekly roundup of all the biggest news stories from the world of waste, gas, and energy presented by Diamond Scientific. First things first, and as always, let's take a quick look at the stock market and several stocks on the move from this past week within the world of waste, gas, and energy. Bit of a rough week for the stock market. Going into the weekend, Casella Waste was sitting at $74.97 per share. GFL Environmental was at $48.96 per share. Waste Connections hit $156.02 per share. Montauk Renewables went in at $1.21 per share. Waste Management was up to $225.06 per share. And Republic Services Incorporated went into the weekend at $215.83 per share. But first up in the news, we have a massive story for the renewable energy industry. Last week, we reported on the fact following significant energy instability stemming from the conflict in Iran, many within the energy industry were calling on President Donald Trump to at last finalize guidance for the renewable fuel standard for 2026 and 2027. This past week, President Trump announced the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has indeed finalized the so-called Set 2 final rule to serve as the 2026 and 2027 RFS guidance. In fact, Set 2 establishes the renewable fuel volume requirements for 2026 and 2027 at the highest levels in the program's 20-year history. U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins said, quote, "Today's announcement is truly historic for our nation's farmers and energy producers. With President Trump and Administrator Lee Zeldin's leadership, these historically high volumes are expected to create a $3 to $4 billion increase in net farm income," end quote. In a statement, the EPA says it estimates biodiesel and renewable diesel production will need to increase by over 60% compared to 2025 volumes, the last year of the Biden-Harris administration's Set 1 rule set. It further estimates the rule will generate over $10 billion for rural economies and create over 100,000 new jobs in the agricultural and manufacturing sectors. But up next, this past week, Ruth Porat, the president and chief investment officer of Google's parent company Alphabet, said the U.S. may not be scaling energy supplies fast enough to meet the increasing demands of artificial intelligence data centers. At the CERAWeek conference in Houston, she said, quote, "We are concerned that we are not full throttle on energy," end quote, adding that she believes the country will need to embrace every source of energy to meet the demand. This comes days after a new $33 billion 10-gigawatt AI data center was announced for Pike County, Ohio. And also this past week, leading European industry associations came together to sign the Joint Biomethane Declaration. They are calling for biomethane to become a central building block of the EU's reindustrialization, energy security, and transition to climate neutrality. In part, the declaration says, quote, "Biomethane stands out as a domestic, cost-effective, scalable, and immediately deployable solution for industrial solutions enabling industry transition toward climate neutrality. Although the enabling framework is gradually taking shape, persistent gaps and implementation delays continue to limit the pace and scale of market deployment," end quote. Among the signatories are the European Biogas Association, Farm Europe, Glass for Europe, CEPI, the European Association representing the paper industry, and others. And just a quick reminder, Recyclist is a registered trademark of Diamond Scientific, an industry leader in gas analysis, instrumentation, and solutions. Make sure to check them out online at diamondsci.com. That's diamondsci.com. Or you can even set up a personalized presentation just by calling 321-223-7500. Now on with the news. According to a new report from Alternative Energy magazine, the global biogas market is set to reach a combined value of over $103 billion by 2032. This means the market will have nearly doubled in size from its $57 billion valuation from 2023 and represents a combined annual growth rate of 6.8% for the next 6 years. The report cites rising demand for renewable energy, energy security concerns, increasing organic waste generation, and a global circular economy focus with supportive government policies as all being contributing factors in the growth of the industry. And speaking of doubling in size, according to new data from the American Biogas Council, the number of farms in the United States operating biogas capture systems has more than doubled since 2020. Released to coincide with National Agriculture Month, the ABC data shows 631 farms now operate biogas systems, this up from around 300 5 years ago. Those farms now produce over 61 million British thermal units of energy in a year, a 166% increase from the 23 million produced in 2020. American Biogas Council Executive Director Patrick Surface said, quote, "This technology is one of the most scalable, immediate opportunities we have to expand domestic energy production. With the right policies and continued investment, this sector can deliver transformative benefits for farmers, communities, and the entire country." End quote. And up next, the California Public Utilities Commission recently approved the very first project under the state's biomethane procurement program, established in 2018 by State Bill 1440. Anaergia and its project partners received approval for a co-digestion facility processing wastewater and organic waste at the Victor Valley Wastewater Reclamation Authority. It can handle up to 104,000 tons of diverted organic waste annually. Anaergia's COO, Yaniv Sharon, compared California's program to others in British Columbia and Quebec, which biogas groups have cited as key to developing projects in those provinces. He said, quote, "It is really the linchpin and the key to unlocking the success of anaerobic digester infrastructure in California." End quote. And lastly, staying in California, Bulk Handling Systems has partnered with Napa Recycling and Waste Services, along with the City of Napa, California, to develop and operate an anaerobic digestion and renewable natural gas facility at the existing Napa Recycling and Composting facility. The facility is estimated to generate up to 500,000 diesel gallon equivalent of compressed natural gas annually, which BHS says is enough to power approximately 50 heavy-duty waste collection trucks per year, and will be used, in fact, to fuel Napa Recycling's fleet of waste collection trucks. Eric Herbert, the president of BHS, said, quote, "This project virtually eliminates methane emissions from organic waste being disposed of from the service area. Additionally, we will also replace the fossil fuel-derived gas used by the trucking fleet with renewable natural gas generated from organic waste converted on site. A truly circular solution." End quote. And that will do it for your March 30th, 2026 news roundup, brought to you by Recyclist. Once again, a registered trademark of Diamond Scientific. I've been your host, Eric Provost, and we will see you back here next week for another brand new episode of Recyclist. Thank you.